Sure. I mean, the response to it has been, I have to say, amazing. For this album and the album before, the last two albums, the response has been incredible. So, you know, obviously that's very pleasing for us. And you know, when we finished making the album, I think we thought we'd, you know, done something really good. So, you know, and I guess the proof of that is when you go out and you get to play it live in front of an audience. And then you can see people reacting to the songs, and yeah, it's great. The songs are really good to play live as well. So yeah, so far very pleased indeed. Well, I mean, it's really funny because I think for a lot of bands, the pandemic and the lockdown and everything would have made life very difficult. But for Thunder, it's not so bad because I'm the person who writes the song. So. And I have a small studio in my house. The rest of the guys don't really get involved in the writing process. So for me, it was just the same as usual. I'd write the songs at home, make demos of the songs at home, send them out to the guys, and then basically when we get together to record, then we all get together in the studio. It was a bit more difficult in that we had to kind of, you know, all take a test and live in a bubble and all that stuff. But it was actually great because I think for all of us, it came at a good time because it allowed us all to get away from home for a couple of weeks. And we lived in the studio where we were recording, and it's in the countryside, miles from anywhere. Excuse me. And yeah, so the whole process was good. For us, it worked really well. I mean, we like to record in kind of out the way places anyway, just because we enjoy the isolation and the separation. It helps you really focus on what you're doing. So yeah, so the creative process for us wasn't really any different than it usually is. Well, I think what we didn't really set out to make a double album, which is what it turned out to be. I mean, usually our albums are 11, maybe 12 songs, but I think because, I mean, one of the advantages of the pandemic was that it gave me lots of time to concentrate on the writing. I didn't have to go on tour or do anything else, really. So that meant I wrote more songs, and the band actually recorded 20 songs. And I guess when we were maybe sort of 75% of the way through the recording, I think we realised that we had a lot of really strong material that was quite varied and quite different. And I think when we sort of sat down and started thinking about it, the 16 songs that we chose, we didn't feel that we could leave any of them out of the album. So it had to be 16. And we wanted to have that variation, you know, a few different styles, some new instrumentation, you know, accordion, saxophone, stuff that we've not used before. But that's kind of part of who we are, and I guess where we're going. And I think we're the kind of band who would find it very difficult just to keep making the same album over and over. I think we have to feel like we're moving forward, you know, and we have to keep ourselves interested in the musical process. But you know, I think despite the fact that it goes off in some different maybe musical directions, I think it still sounds like Thunder, and the bands that we grew up listening, you know, that are our favourite bands, are Led Zeppelin and Queen or the Beatles, whatever. They all managed to play in different sort of musical areas, and you know, I guess that's something that we, you know, if it feels natural for us to do that, then we will do that, I guess. Oh, well, digital really. The thing is, analog recording is A, very expensive, B, it takes a long time to record onto 2-inch tape. I mean, you know, obviously we've been around a long time. So when we first started going into recording studios, it was 40 years ago. And then it was 2-inch tape, and you had to wait for the tape to go backwards and forwards, and it would spin off, and then you had to edit with a razor blade, all of that. And digital means you can just fucking do it. So it saves a lot of time. And the interesting thing is, I know some people are kind of purists about this. They say, oh, yeah, but tape compression is better and this, that, and the other. Honestly, you know, I'm a professional musician and I can't tell the fucking difference. So as far as I'm concerned, it is good. Okay, So I was reading a lot during the pandemic, and I was reading I read this article by a psychologist who said that because of everybody does everything through their telephone, everything. It's their diary, it's the way they communicate with people, it's the way they watch films, it's how they record, how fit they are, everything, their heartbeat, everything goes on in this fucking phone, right? And because of social media and the obsession with social media, people need, they'll take a photograph of themselves and they'll put it on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, whatever it is, and they need people to say, oh, it's great, you look pretty, you look beautiful, you look fantastic. And that's how they get their hit of dopamine. So, and this article was saying that we're all becoming dopamine addicts because of our telephones and all wanting instant gratification. And when I was writing the songs for the album, that was kind of, I guess, because lots of the songs are maybe a little bit about isolation, separation because of the pandemic. I started thinking, well, people communicate, lots of people now are just talking through their phones, and maybe if they live on their own, they're not even seeing other people because they're terrified to go out. So I just sort of started thinking about the phone and selfies and dopamine hits, and how can we get this? How can we kind of capture it visually? And a really good friend of my wife is one of the girls. She's the girl with the long dark hair, and she spends her whole life on Instagram, right? Her whole life going. She's a beautiful girl. She's very, very nice. But my wife said, well, why don't you take a picture of Sophie? So I said, do you think she will do that? And she said, yeah, give her a call. So I rang her and I said, Soph, look, I love your Instagram page. And I explained the concept to her, but I want to get two girls in a bathroom. And she was, yeah, great, I'm up for it. And the other lady in the photograph with the shaved head, she is Ben, our other guitar player. She is his partner. And she's a model as well. So she was like, yeah, great, let's do it. And that was it. So we found the best, or the most interesting bathroom we could with the most mirrors and stuck them in there. And I guess the irony, the whole point that the album sleeve is making is the two girls are doing this, and they're so self-obsessed that they can't see that just a few yards away is a unicorn in the toilet. And they miss that completely because they're too busy looking at themselves. And I guess that's illustrating the point of the world we live in now. Everybody's a little self-obsessed. Okay. Oh, I quite like Twitter because I think Twitter is. In the past couple of years, or past sort of 5 years in England, the situation politically has been absolute chaos, utter chaos. Right. I know. I don't know if you know the guy who runs our country is a complete idiot, and Twitter has got lots of people. Saying some very funny things about our government and the country, and it keeps you kind of feel. I feel like it kind of keeps me in touch with news when I don't have time to read a paper or whatever. So I like Twitter. I know people. There's some very clever people are on Twitter, but I kind of like Instagram too, in that it's not when it's girls, but I like when because you can see some fantastically cool photographs and it's visually, it's a good idea. So Facebook, I'm on Facebook, but I don't really understand Facebook. I think I just don't get it. It's people talking about their dinner, or how many times they went to the dentist, it's so mundane. I mean, I have enough mundane things in my own life. I don't need to read about other people's. We don't. Thunder don't have a TikTok. Don't have TikTok. No, yeah, I know. We're too old. We don't understand. maybe we have to pay a young person to do it for us. Oh, I think it's very difficult now for young bands, because when we came along, record companies were still investing. We signed to EMI. EMI gave us a lot of money, and they supported us when we went on tour, and we were losing money, but they paid the bill and they kept us on the road because they realised that I think if they put us in front of people, we would get fans and the fan base would get bigger. And that's basically what happened with Thunder. But now record companies don't make those kind of investments in young bands anymore. So they have to do it themselves. And it's very, very difficult. It's much harder business now than it was when we came into it. So I think the best advice I could give young musicians is keep enjoying it, but you have to be so determined now. You have to be so determined. And there's so many other things you have to know about. It's not enough just to play the guitar and drink Jack Daniels. Now you have to understand the internet. You have to understand how business works. You have to understand so many different things. So, yeah, I think you just have to be very, very determined because it's very difficult to get through now. Okay. Oh, crikey. It's very varied. But most of the music I listened to was probably made before 1985, if I'm honest. I still listen to bands like Steely Dan, Doobie Brothers, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Joni Mitchell. I like a lot of old soul music. I like James Brown. I like Tamla Motown. I like Stevie Wonder. So I guess music from the era when I was a kid, when I was growing up, and that has a special kind of, I guess, a special emotional attachment to that. And I find that I'm always I try and listen to as much new music as I can, but most new music I listen to sounds like something that's been done before, only not as good. You know? I'd say probably the Western Sky. Hello, everybody. My name's Luke Morley. I play in an English rock and roll band called Thunder, and you are watching or listening to Headbanging. It's great.